What's up, the internet? It's Kyle, and I'm joined as always by Dan.
Hola!
Welcome to In Stores this week here on The Experience. Dan, did you like our new commercial for our Post-it Note anniversary?
I did. I really enjoyed the Post-it Note commercial. Thought that was really well done.
I made it myself. I had to sit there and try and write as nicely as I can, and it's 2021, so like, who writes anymore?
Having hand-lettered comic books 20 years ago, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's kind of a
Don't
pain
think
in the
I
neck.
could do it now, but
It's kind of a pain in the neck. But we're
Yep.
calling it the Post-it Note anniversary because paper is the 1 year anniversary gift, just to give people papers. And what's half paper? Post-it notes,
Yes.
right?
Early
I mean,
paper, though, is trees.
well, no, but half of paper. Like half paper is Post-it notes or note cards. We went with Post-it notes because they're sticky.
Well, yeah, but this is early for a 1 year anniversary, so it'd still be the tree stage.
Right, but we're halfway to paper. So, like, technically we're in pulp form.
Logs?
I don't know. Somewhere in that middle ground. Anyway, we can get into the whole paper production process later. But at least we're not newsprint.
Yes. Much more Baxter paper than anything. I think it's good
Yes.
quality.
Yes. Is that what the Baxter Building's named after?
No. No.
Oh,
My
that was
dad
one of the
used to be-
dumber jokes I've ever made.
My dad used to be a pressman, so I know probably a little more about printing and stuff like that than I should.
Yeah, no, I know a little bit about printing and pressing and that kind of stuff, but I'm gonna be real honest. That was one of the worst jokes I
Well, Nick's trying to compete with the. Can you write down the explanation on a Post-it note?
No, Nick. I can't send it in an email because it's 2021 and who writes anymore. But
Can you fax it to me? I'd like it faxed, please.
yes. So there are new comics out this week.
Thank God.
And ironically, Dan's been planning for his list for 2 weeks.
Yes. Because I picked all the wrong books last week. So we winged
Well,
it
it's
last
funny.
week. Yeah.
It's funny because during your first show this evening, the Dan Wickline show, I was listening, but I was also working on comics for the week of 7/14. So I'm 2 weeks out now, and
Well, it worked out well for me because I already had the show prepped for tonight when I had to spend yesterday writing an entire comic script in a day. So,
well, hopefully one of
It
these
worked
nights will be covering your story when it comes out.
hopefully. Actually, I may have some other bigger news depending on the conversation on Thursday. So, fingers crossed,
Yeah?
eyes crossed, toes crossed. Yeah.
Bring you back Shazam,
No.
Sinbad.
I only got one toe in the door at DC a couple years ago, and then it came right back out again. So,
Okay. Well, you know what I was actually thinking, and I
Hmm.
said Shazam, and I was thinking Kazam,
oh,
which is the Mandela effect of Sinbad.
right. Yes. Now, is
So,
he?
all right,
in-
let's just talk about real books.
I was gonna say, is Sinbad in the Shazam movie coming up? Because he popped up in the
Sinbad the comedian or Sinbad like
Sinbad the comedian popped up on the DC big panel convention thing they did, that virtual convention. He showed up during the Shazam movie panel where they announced the name Fury of the Gods, and I was thinking he'd be an awesome Uncle Dudley.
there is nothing listed on his IMDb.
But wouldn't it be hilarious because they all think that he was in?
He would be perfect.
Yeah, I thought Kazam was actually the
Kazam was Shaq.
and
But
Shazam
then
was the name everybody thought.
Sinbad was actually in a movie where he played a genie. We've gone around the bend.
Yes, absolutely.
So where do you want to start tonight?
Marvel.
All right, let's cue the Marvel. Marvel has, ironically, the most books out this week of any publisher. But unlike our normal circumstances, DC is not number 2.
Who is number 2?
Bum. I'd have to hold on. New comics. Okay, so between Marvel has 16 books out this week. IDW has 10. SourcePoint has 8. Image has 7. Boom and DC are tied for 5th with 5 books apiece. Also included in that group is Vault.
DC only has 5 books this week?
Because they're transitioning into that event. They're transitioning into the...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a light week for you DC fans. But for you Marvel fans, we're sorry. So
but there's some interesting stuff from DC.
There's some... Yeah. Oh, no, the DC stuff I would say is top of the line from DC.
Yeah.
But there's just not a ton of it this week.
Right. But you'll have to wait around to see what those wonderful DC books are later in the show. Because we're going to Marvel first.
It's called a segue and a setup.
Yes.
So let's talk Marvel. We'll start with, a book that I've been waiting for kind of a little while. This is Giant Size Amazing Spider-Man, The Chameleon Conspiracy. Love me the Chameleon.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people don't know the Chameleon is actually the brother of Kraven the Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
And when there's the story that has Kraven the Hunter going after Spider-Man and his assistant or the guy that works for him is the one that urges him to go after Spider-Man, it's the Chameleon.
So this is a one-shot.
Yes.
I'm not sure it's exactly an anthology, but it's kind of anthology-ish.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing a terrible echo in my ear. That follows up from Amazing Spider-Man 69, leads into Amazing Spider-Man 70. So in the read-through, you have to read 69 and 70, and then you read this one.
Yeah. Remember what
the epic inclusion of the Chameleon Conspiracy that you thought, if you thought the end of King's Ransom shook Spider-Man to his core, you better think again as things will level up. Written by Nick Spencer, Ed Brisson, pencils by Carlos Gomez and Marcelo Ferreira. You've got covers by Mark Bagley. Trying to see who else did covers.
I'm really looking forward I'm really looking forward to Carlos Gomez's art. I actually got to know Carlos when he was working on the Dresden File books for Dynamite. He did some great work on that series. I'm a huge Dresden Files fan, and all the comics there tie into the main universe. So if you want to really know all the Dresden Files, you have to read the comics and the novels. And Carlos Gomez was an artist on that for quite some time and did some amazing work. You know, and in a lot of ways now in my mind, when I think of Dresden, I think of Carlos's artwork.
Absolutely. The artwork in this has been incredible. I've really been a big fan of the parts of this story that were taking place in ASM. And as ASM is really the only Marvel book I'm still reading on the weekly, or on the release date, I guess. This has been a lot of fun.
So if we did like a Amazing Spider-Man review, could we call it ASMR?
No, Bob.
What could Nick's talking up a storm here. What could Chameleon do to Kraven to mess with him? It's almost limitless. Yeah.
Chameleon show up in. Well, I was gonna do a really dumb transition. and then I stalled.
Chameleon could be a really huge villain with the way he can shape change, but I think his thunder got kind of overrun when they introduced the scrolls. You know,
Yeah.
he's got that one trick, and the scrolls went, "Yeah, we can all do that."
Right. Anything you can do, I can do better. It's super true when the person who can do better is the freaking Skrulls. So, all right, let's transition into a
Scrolls
book.
were first. I thought. I'm not. Never mind. I'm not going to argue with Nick when it comes to comic history.
Yeah.
It's just the Skrulls came before Chameleon. Because I thought Chameleon was one of the earliest Spider-Man villains.
No, he was later.
Hmm.
He was much later.
Okay.
He was in the 200s.
No.
Yeah. I forget. Hold on. All right. Now we have to solve this. Nick's done got us off track.
Oh, yeah. It's like he's still on the show.
True.
Skrulls were FF number 2. Okay. So, yeah, no matter what issue, that was first. Yeah, Chameleon was Amazing Spider-Man number 1.
1963.
So they were close.
Who am I thinking of that was in the 200s? Puma. Okay, that's what I was thinking of.
I'm sorry. You confused Chameleon with Puma?
No, I'm just seeing the cover in my head. I didn't confuse them. I just was thinking about a different thing.
All right. Yeah.
Also, like, I'm going to have to put Nick in timeout, otherwise we're never going to get anything done. So let's go to this. Black Knight, Curse of the Ebony Blade, number 4.
Currently one of my favorite series out there right now. I've been keeping up on this, and I am really looking forward to the next issue. Simon Spurrier, Sergio Davila. You got Dane Whitman wields the magical ebony blade as the Black Knight. Dane will need to master the ebony chalice as well to stop the murderous new foe. What it is there's basically 3 items were crafted out of the meteorite or moonstone that they created the ebony blade out of, the ebony chalice and an ebony shield. And Mordred has the ebony shield. They were fighting over the ebony chalice. Now, but like the blade, the power of the chalice comes with a terrible cost. Dane Monster Hunter Elsa Bloodstone and Arthurian scholar Jax must face the dark truth of the Black Knight legacy and the enemy at the very site of the first Black Knight's birth. Does Dane have the strength to finish the fight that began long ago at Camelot by King Arthur, Merlin, and Sir Percy? This has been a really strong series. I was a little bumpy at first with Simon Spurrier because I wasn't really thrilled with the way he was treating Dane Whitman, but I understood where he was going with it. And by issue 2 and issue 3, it really picks up. So issue 4, like I said, that's going to be on the top of my pile when I pick it up tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the it's gonna be That Kind of Night, Dan.
The trade?
No, the Monty Python version.
Ah. Yeah. And again,
I can't believe I couldn't remember Monty Python for 4 seconds there.
Yeah, again, Black Knight's going to be important with him showing up in the Eternals. He's going to become a major character in the MCU. So this is a great way for new readers to jump in on this character because they're dealing with his history. So even if you're not a fan of the Black Knight or you're not familiar with the Black Knight, this series takes a deep dive into the character's history, like deep dive. So this is a great starting point for this character and will get you ready for the Eternals movie.
Absolutely. Okay. Our next book from Marvel is we have 2 we have one book that's kind of a, how to put this? It's a continuation, but not exactly. This is Shang-Chi, Captain America, number 2.
Yeah. What they're doing with Shang-Chi is a little different. They're they have this ongoing story with him, but in each issue, he's gonna pretty much come across another hero. So the first issue he dealt with Spider-Man, and they weren't really fighting each other. They were trying to work together. But Shang-Chi's life has changed drastically. He's now got this sister. He's leading the Five Fingers or something like that? They're this group of bad guys that he's trying to turn good, kind of like the Hand or and so he's trying to bring this organization around. And now in the second episode, he's going to go up against Captain America. The actual solicitation, not a lot to it, but it's Jean Luen Yang and Dyke Ren, and it says there's a cosmic cube for sale right there. You got me. And everyone from Hydra to AIM to the Hand is ready to pay up for it. But Shang-Chi and his 5 Weapons Society, that's the name of the group, might outbid them unless a certain Star-Spangled Avenger has anything to say about it. Uh-oh. Yeah, so Cosmic Cube, you have to bring in Captain America if you're bringing in a Cosmic Cube. And of course, in the movies, the Cosmic Cube became the Tesseract. But the Cosmic Cube is the Cosmic Cube in the comics. It's not one of the Infinity Stones. It's something all together different. It's something the Red Skull has always wanted. And it's popping back up again here. And of course, Captain America's interested because everything that ties to the Cosmic Cube ties to the Red Skull.
So I'll give you guys a little taste, a little tease. The first issue was Shang-Chi versus Spider-Man. Second issue is Shang-Chi versus Captain America. Shang-Chi tries not to get snicked in the third issue. And in the fourth issue, I don't know how you don't catch on fire when you're fighting that guy. And the rest of the team he's a part of.
The Invaders?
Nope. Same guy, different team.
Different guy, same name.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the Human Torch is the Human Torch. You just have to pick a team, and then the person who is embodying the Human Torch.
Yes.
So you're saying the Fantastic Four is at issue number 4?
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
That's called Synergy,
Yes.
I think. So, yes. Wolverine in number 3. And
Wolverine's in episode 3 because he has 3 claws on his hands.
Yeah. If that's the real reason, I'm going to give up the whole business.
Is this a 4-episode series or 5?
All that's solicited currently are 4 issues. That doesn't mean there won't be more. Let me look
It could be
here
ongoing.
and see. It doesn't say that it's only a 4-issue series or that it's a mini of any kind in the notes I have, but it feels to me like it's a 4, 5, no more than 6 or 8 parts, but somewhere in that range. So, all right. We have one more Marvel book, and this is the Marvel book
2 more.
that no, I only have lists for one, Dan.
I've got 2.
What do you got?
Black Cat Annual, United States of Captain America.
Black Cat Annual is not available with a cover. That's why I only have one more.
Okay.
But the United States of Captain America. How many Captain Americas do you need? Apparently a whole
72.
bunch.
72.
That's a fair answer.
Thank you.
You brought too many and tracks. The shield has been stolen. No one understands the value of the shield like those who wielded it. So Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson set out on a road trip across America to chase down the thief. But instead, they find captains, everyday people. They find the captains, everyday people from all walks of life who have taken up the mantle of Captain America to defend their communities. And for some reason, the shield thief wants them all dead. Can Sam and Steve get to them first? Christopher Cantwell and Dale Eaglesham lead a can't-miss miniseries to celebrate Captain America's 80th anniversary. Joined by a rotating series of creative teams to tell the story of each new captain. starting with Aaron Fisher, the Captain America of the Railways, brought to life by Josh Trujillo, and I think it's Jan Bazulda. Or it might be Jan, but I think it's
Jan Bazaldua.
Jan Bazaldua. There you go.
At least that's how I'd go with it.
And Josh Trujillo may be participating in a future event here in the Experience. I was
Nice.
emailing with him today.
Very cool.
And, you know, Dale Eaglesham we should talk to.
Absolutely. This looks like it's going to be a fun series, especially coming off of Falcon and Winter Soldier. But it reminds me a little bit of not the Sin Eater. There was a guy in all white who was going around killing heroes and villains and stuff, powered people in Captain America years ago.
We really do need to bring Barucci back in. He can answer these questions because my brain isn't
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah. But yeah, there was had a white skull mask and a white suit, and he was running around killing people. He killed Jack Monroe, who became Nomad. He was he was the 1950s Bucky. Scourge. The Scourge. Yeah. He was
I
killing.
was going to say, who killed Jack Monroe may not be a good answer. May not be a good way to figure that out.
Yeah. His name was the Scourge, and he was basically killing off heroes and villains and stuff, costume people, and Cap had to travel around the country to stop him, and kind of that same feel going on here. You know, except for they're specifically going after Captain America's or people inspired by Captain America.
They call themselves the Captains.
Yep.
So it's either Captain America or Captain Morgan, and I think because it's a comic book, it's going to be Captain America.
Could be Captain Jack, whether Captain Jack Sparrow or Captain Jack Harkness.
Captain Jack will get you high tonight. Take you to your special island. Still a captain.
Yep.
All right. And then not available with photograph, the Black Cat Annual #1.
Yeah, this is Jed McKay and Joey Vasquez, and the Infinite Destinies continues. Felicia Hardy's vacation is interrupted when a layover in South Korea turns into an insane caper. This caper is a deadly journey across Seoul, where she comes face to face with Taguchi,
Not even going to try.
White Fox, and Tiger Division, which sounds like a band from the 80s, Tiger Division. They're all from Taskmaster #3. And what does this have to do with the Infinity Stones? Find out. Also in this issue, now this is what the important part is. Infinite Fury continues here. It's the third of the eight-part series that's going on in the backup of the annuals. So if you're following that, you want to pick up the Black Cat Annual #1. You want to take Nick out of timeout? He seems upset.
He's not in timeout. That's how he can comment.
Oh.
I'm just going to yell at him real quick.
You're typing to yell at him when you're talking
Yes.
on a show that...
There we go. All right. Now, let's save DC to start the second hour. Let's spend a half hour with some of our other publishers that we like to talk about. Not the least of which is including a book that seems to be heating up the longer it goes, in terms of what I'm hearing from retailers across the country that I talk to.
Yeah.
This book is getting more and more traction the longer the run goes. So we better talk about it now so people can jump on while they're only 21 issues behind.
Yes, absolutely. Vampirella. Yeah, I know you guys probably have never heard of this character before, but...
Yeah,
you've got
one of the longest running characters ever.
Yeah, you've got the incredible Christopher Priest just knocking the hell out of this series. He's been on it for 21 episodes. Plus, he's doing the Sacred Six series, which is also incredible, and people should be picking up both of them. You have artist Ergun Gundas, and that's as close as I'm going to get to pronouncing his name. And again, it's just they're 21 books in. They're doing a phenomenal job here. And it says, can Vampirella turn her back on her own people? Having discovered the startling truth about her home world of Draculon, Vampirella is torn between her mother's evil dream of conquest and the vendetta against the Vampiri race by a macabre and enigmatic new threat. The fate of Lilith and the destiny of Draculon are about to be revealed. Now, if you are a casual reader of Vampirella, you might know that she's got two different origins. She's the daughter of Draculon. She's the daughter of Lilith. Priest seems to be bringing those two stories together into one. And like I said, he's doing a phenomenal job. Plus, the covers on this. I believe this is a Lucio Perillo cover. But there are so many great covers for this book that you guys should be checking it out in the stores. And there's always a cosplay cover, too. So if you are someone who likes to collect cosplay images and stuff, there's usually a cosplay cover from some great cosplay models. So
the problem I have, and I'm going to say this, and it's one of the best problems in the world you can have, is that some of the art on these covers is so realistic, I can't tell what the cosplay covers are sometimes and what the real covers are without going through and looking at the guide.
Yeah. There's a couple artists like Dexter, or is it Derek Chu, who's been doing Vampirella lately. And yeah, I have to stop and make sure that's not a photo. He's so good.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. So make sure to check those out. Make sure to check out Vampirella. Like I said, stores are selling out that have never sold out before. So just be aware this book is getting heat. Yeah. The longer it goes, as well it should. All right. From Image Comics, a book that I've been on the drum about since it started, 2 Moons. Remember, this is the story of a young Native American man who is serving in the Civil War, but he is caught between a number of different worlds. It's John Arcudi and Bill Crabtree. But the reality is this is a man who's coming to tale with his shamanic background while serving in the Civil War, and it becomes very clear that neither side wants him. And the side that does want him, he doesn't want to be a part of. So this is part 5, The Iron Noose. The gates of hell have burst open and chaos reigns as Virgil and Francis scramble to save the lives and souls. They're not giving you much to go on in this regard. Pick up the first 4 issues. It's a really well-constructed story that keeps you guessing in a big way.
Yeah, Kyle's been talking about this one from day one. So if you get Kyle excited about a book and he's sticking with it up through issue 5, it's something there. Something that you should be checking out too if Kyle's keeping with it after 5 issues. So.
Right, especially if I'm talking about it on this show with so much stuff out. A book like that, it's easy to get lost in the shuffle of everything that comes out. But every time that book comes out, I get real excited for it.
Thank you, Will.
Shout out Will Holland. Yeah, absolutely. All right. This is we need to take a break, but we'll do this one real quick. Right. This is from F2 Publications. It's actually a magazine. This is Mutiny Magazine. This is in-depth interviews and features, and at least 55 pages of original comic stories from both established creators and fresh new blood. Oh, and the different covers to choose from, all exclusives. The Spawn cover by Greg Capullo, colored by Brian Haberlin. This is the regular cover for this issue. If you like it, you'd better seize the opportunity for it. It will never be reprinted. Not joking. Afrofuturism, Mutinyism cover by Chris Cross, who did Vixen, Static Shock, and Captain Marvel, limited to 500 copies. The Ultra Sexy Back cover by Layla Lies, who did Alters, Horde, and Neverland. The blank cover, an ideal gift to yourself to draw on or have your favorite artist draw your favorite covers on. The mystery cover by fan favorite J. Scott Campbell. Too many covers to name. Only offered as an add-on. We won't tell you what's on it, but we can guarantee it'll be worth your dollars. We're also going to limit it to 150 copies. And speaking of exclusives, we've decided that this KS exclusion, this KS edition of Mutiny Magazine would only be available in digital form for the foreseeable future. Yes, we believe in print. Kiddos, FYI, Mutiny is beautiful 8.3 by 11 size square bound magazine. The reason I brought it up.
Yeah, those all sound like great covers, but I want to read the Todd McFarlane interview.
That's why I brought it up. You have what I think were the best parts of the old Wizard magazines here in this magazine, in the sense that it's, let's talk to creators about their stuff. Let's keep it kind of in a certain lane and stick with it. And then, let's tell people the news they actually care about, which is what the creators they like are doing. As opposed to telling people what's happening on the big screen, which they can find out from other places. So I think this is a really great example of the way a magazine like this can exist in the world. This is the first one, Will. This is number 0. So, like I said, it's magazines like this can still exist in the world, in a post-magazine world.
Yeah.
You just have to do it right.
I like the tagline, comics for the rest of us.
Yeah. As someone who has been a rest of us for the most of his life, I can appreciate that. So, let's do this. Let's take a quick break here, Dan. We will come back in just a couple minutes with more comics. We'll hit DC in the next hour, and we'll talk some more indies. We'll be right back.
There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit ComicShopLocator.com to find a store near you.
Welcome back to In Stores This Week. I'm Kyle. That's Dan.
Dan. What Will had a question.
Is both. I was just going to say that. To answer Will's question, both. It's both in print and available online.
There we go.
A book we that Dan and I both had on our list this week is I don't know. The Dragon Bellows Conspiracy, Usagi Yojimbo, Stan Sakai.
Moving over to IDW.
Right.
That's pretty amazing.
Usagi's been there for a while now.
I thought it was over at Dark Horse.
It's been there a couple of years, I think.
Oh.
Let me double check that while you tell everybody about Usagi Yojimbo.
Okay, Usagi Yojimbo, Dragon Below Conspiracy #1. Bellow?
Yeah, the Dragon Bellows Conspiracy.
Okay. Presenting the start of perhaps Usagi's greatest story ever. A sinister plot to overthrow the shogun percolates, and one of Usagi's friends is captured. The ensuing machinations will draw in not only Usagi, but bounty hunter Gen and the blind sword pig Zatao Ino. All new color makes this a must-have for any longtime fan, as well as a great place to start for new readers looking to start their own Usagi Yojimbo journey.
Yes, Usagi has been at IDW since 2019.
Oh, okay. I hadn't noticed. Mm-hmm. But Usagi in color is pretty spectacular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've really been liking it. Stan won an Eisner last year. Or it might have been 2019 he won. He's won an Eisner. He's won a Ringo. He's won a bunch of awards for these last few Usagi runs that he's been doing. The ongoing, and then this one's getting a lot of press and a lot of hype too. So
look at this cover. How awesome would that be as a poster? Just take the trade dress off of it and that is gorgeous.
Yeah, no, like I said, I think he's doing the best work of his career right now.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited for Usagi to continue. All right.
Yeah, and I love the fact that the new #1 so people can jump on board. Right.
People don't have to know they don't have to spend the number of years that some of us have spent with this character to jump in on this one. It's a different kind of take. And so it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right. We'll do Midnight Western Theater #2 from Scout Comics. As you'll recall, when this book came out, this is Cowboy Vampire Western. Welcome back to the Midnight Western Theater. Brace yourselves for tonight's showcase. Is not for the faint of heart. Our hero, Hortensia Thomas, and her right-hand man, Alexander Wortham, have journeyed into the middle of nowhere for reasons unknown. The only form of civilization for miles is a lonely and peculiar church, but all is not as it seems. Find out if this house of God to be their salvation or their doom in the thrilling new installment. So, guys, remember, this is about two vampires in the Wild West, essentially, trying to survive. The first book, they came across a town. Think of the town from The Quick and the Dead, and kind of set it right. In this, they're coming across a church that might not be all it's cracked up to be. So make sure we're checking out Midnight Western Theater #1 and 2 from Scout Comics. So,
yeah, I think you just made a sale there for Sean Butler.
Hey, that's great. I'm happy to do it. Jen King was actually the one who put me onto the first issue. So I'm very excited that this book is doing well, and that it's going to continue. I mean, they have 5 issues solicited already, so we're in good shape there. Nice. Speaking of 5 issues solicited, You Promised Me Darkness. This is well, the reason that's why I bring it up. Behemoth is growing so quickly that they're struggling sometimes to get books out on time. And what's happening is that what we're finding out is that some stores get it on 1 week, some stores get it the next. So if you went to a comic book store looking for You Promised Me Darkness #3 last week and it wasn't there, it should be there this week.
You promised me darkness. And it wasn't
Yes. All right. Well, that's fair. And I like this comment from Sean. This series has been a trip. She does have a great habit of recommending great stuff. But that series has been a trip. I want to talk about another book that is an absolute trip. This is Red Room #2. Okay. Red Room #1 is not for the normal people. You've got to be pretty messed up already jumping into this book. Otherwise, this book will completely ruin your existence. It's incredibly messed up. It's Ed Piskor, top to bottom. He said several times, pulling out all the stops, being crazier than he's ever been. The first book introduces you to the Red Room, and the Red Room is phraseology that kind of is like a Marine Corps wet team. I don't know if you know what a Marine Corps wet team is, Dan.
Yeah.
But they're the group that go into situations that are going to be bloody. If you paint the room red, you don't know. It's like, that's why that guy wore his brown pants.
Yes.
It's that kind of naming rights. But grooming victims to be slaughtered on the dark web for the enjoyment of psychopaths requires a lot of work to keep them from being identified. The Poker Face organization is one of the most successful black market Red Room companies on the internet, and it goes to great lengths to fulfill their customers' depraved fantasies while avoiding law enforcement every step of the way. From the creator of Hip Hop Family Tree and X-Men Grand Design comes this all-new monthly book series, a cyberpunk, outlaw, splatterpunk deep dive into the subculture of criminals who live stream and patronize webcam murders for entertainment in the darkest corners of the web with nearly untraceable cryptocurrency. As seen on Piskor's YouTube channel sensation, cartoonist Kayfabe. So look, I read the first issue. I read, and Dan can affirm this. Nick's in the comments, he can affirm this. I read the weirdest comics. If it's weird, if it's messed up, if it's as far out of the mainstream as it can be, those are the books on my pull list.
If you ever read something and think, who the hell is this for? Kyle.
This book made me take a deep breath. I had to stop at one point and pick it back up. It is everything that it says it is and then some. And if you don't like being made uncomfortable, I would say this might be a pass. If you like things that make you uncomfortable, if you like things that make you think about how great is this thing we call the internet, really? What does the future hold as more weird and depraved things become part of the internet? Then this is totally for you, and you'll really enjoy it.
Not for the faint of heart.
Not for the normal of brain.
Well, that eliminates anybody here.
That's fair.
JD asks, is the Red Room
No.
the comic equivalent of a Serbian film?
No. Although that might be the closest correlation I can draw. Did anybody ever see that movie Hostel?
We know all about it, yeah. I mean, it's pretty...
No, it's not like that, JD. If you saw that movie Hostel, the kind of the more violent aspects of that book are some of what this is sort of talking about. All right, let's do a complete 180.
Kids book?
No, but close enough. This is Yuki versus Panda number 2. This is from Source Point Press. Yuki versus Panda is a weird sort of slice of life manga told in comic book form. Even a simple thing like walking to school with her friends isn't without its share of insanity for Yuki. Or even without it isn't without its share of insanity as Yuki continues to deal with Master Lee's training regimen while attempting to be a normal teenager. Meanwhile, a fully grown, short-tempered Panda reflects on his tumultuous past, cursing his fate, despite being closer to getting his revenge than he realizes.
I love they felt it was necessary to include the phrase short-tempered Panda.
Right. This is a story of a panda who hates somebody. And a girl who doesn't know why a panda hates her. I'm just going to give everybody a piece of life advice from Kyle. Maybe don't piss off bears. Any bears. Gummy. Care. Panda. Koala. Just better when they're your allies. Source Point Press has a mountain of good books out this week, though. Including, but not limited to, Broken Gargoyles, Sin and Virtue #1, written by Bob Sally and our friend and OG experience personality, Dr. Christy Blanche, who was here when we first launched. She left to work on stuff like this, which, okay. But this is volume 2 of Broken Gargoyles. The first volume of Broken Gargoyles are stories about a group of guys who go off to war, and it doesn't work out for them. Left for dead, experimented upon, made into something other than human, and they come back, and their government and the world doesn't value them or want them around. And this is what would you do if you were desperate and everything you were told was a lie? This is volume 2. I read the first 3 pages a long time ago, and they've been edited several times since. So I can't give you any real spoilers on this book. Just know that one of the things you can do to kind of understand the mentality of the main characters is to listen to the song "The War Was in Color" by the band Carbon Leaf.
Okay. Musical references or musical recommendations tonight.
Well, Bob Sally, when he was writing the first volume, that was one of the songs that was on his playlist. And as I'm reading the first volume, like, this is a song I'm hearing in the back of my head. And he goes, if you can figure out how to relate to that song, you can figure out how to relate to these characters. If that makes any sense at all.
Cool.
Okay, next thing from Source Point Press, because believe it or not, we have 4 Source Point Press books on my list today. We've done a couple. Boston Metaphysical Society. Let me see if I got the cover for that one or not. Yeah, here it is. This is the Boston Metaphysical Society, The Scourge of the Mechanical Men, #1. This is volume 2 of Boston Metaphysical Society. Granville T. Woods and Nikola Tesla are in a race for time to save Boston from a mysterious disease that turns human beings into soulless machines in this steampunk adventure. This is the first standalone sequel to the Boston Metaphysical Society series about an ex-Pinkerton detective, a spirit photographer, and a genius scientist who battle supernatural forces in 1800s Boston. So I gave you a musical recommendations last time. Look up the Pinkerton Detectives. I'll give you a little bit of background for those of you who aren't willing to do the looking up. The Pinkerton Detectives were the Secret Service before the Secret Service. They were the CIA before the CIA. And they were the FBI before the FBI. Oh, and by the way, they were privately funded. These guys could literally get away with murder because they were more powerful than the government. But Abraham Lincoln, my favorite story is the Pinkerton Detectives were camped out in New Jersey because are your dogs upset, Dan?
Yeah.
Me giving them a history lesson? Is it the history
Yeah.
lesson that's doing it? It's
It
cool.
could be.
I could stop giving history lessons.
No, they need to learn.
Okay. So when Abraham Lincoln was going to be inaugurated the first time, the Pinkerton Detectives had to stop him from being assassinated the first time, before his first inauguration, by setting up in New Jersey at a train station, posing as many of these men dressed as women, posing as people who were getting on the train. When Lincoln's assassin got off the train to use the bathroom, they got him. And nobody ever knew this story until well after Lincoln was already dead. So it was a really cool kind of spy, like, early James Bondian kind of stuff. But we're just going to dress as women and children on this platform. So Boston Metaphysical is a lot of fun. And the last book is a book that is from SourcePoint, is a book that's very close to my heart. Not because I had anything to do with it, but because of the content. This is Darling #1. I will be interviewing both Michael Flezak and Todd Hunt, the writer and the writers of this book, on Thursday live here on The Experience. At 7. No, 6. 6. I had to remember what day it was.
6 Eastern.
6 Eastern, yes. 3 o'clock Pacific. With New York City enveloped in the zeitgeist of a missing 8-year-old girl, lovable anti-hero Frances Darling accidentally stumbles onto the machinations behind her kidnapping and the drug war that ensues. But has he really? A bit like chasing the Mad Hatter through the toxic chemical cloud, Frances's strange and inconceivable journey brings us uncomfortably close to New York's most crooked, most deviant, most irredeemable characters, the kind that can only be extricated from the drug-addled guilty consciousness of a failing brain. This book is loosely an allegory for the current drug war, the current heroin epidemic, whatever you want to call it. Some of that kind of stuff. And it's really deep and really close to these two guys, as the main character is based on the brother of one of the writers, who lost his battle to addiction, sadly, and really gave them the motivation to write this book. So I'll be talking to them about addiction and storytelling and kind of the world that you stumble into when you stumble into those things here on Thursday. It'll be a heavy conversation, but only as heavy as any conversation I ever have is. Heavy, but also dad jokes.
Yes. And strange references.
Also, Michael and Todd have a podcast called the Super Nintendads. So dad jokes will be a thing.
Absolutely.
We have time for one last indie book, and I'm going to bring it up right now. It's called White #1. This is a book that we've been waiting for. It's finally out. Dan, how many weeks has it been on my list? A great many.
Yeah.
Here's the skinny, though. Limited print run of only 2,500. Stores that didn't order over a certain number got 0. Stores that did order over that number got 2. That's kind of how this went. So most stores are already sold out. If you can find one, don't be shocked if it's going for well over cover price. But there is a second print coming out that was FOC'd on Monday. So even that second print is going to have limited numbers. So just be aware of that. You can probably still add it to your pull list and have a chance to get the second print. But White is a follow-up to the Black Mask series Black, where in that series, everyone who in the world who has become a superhero is black. Only African Americans can become superheroes in that world. So the team that asked, what if only black people had superpowers, is back with the sequel to a critically acclaimed series, Black. It's been 3 years since the world learned that only black people have superhuman abilities, and the United States has responded by electing Theodore Mann to the presidency. The only person standing in the way of his policies to control empowered blacks are Carleen Jenkins and his allies. So the main characters from the first series are back in this series, where a politician similar to someone we may have just lived through is in power and trying to rein in superheroes, which is kind of a common trope in superhero books, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, we'll put the politics and stuff aside, because I'm not really interested in talking about that too much.
Reminds me a bit of God Loves Man Kills, the X-Men story.
Right. That was exactly what I was going to say. You know, you had it with the X-Men and God Loves Man Kills, where it's whenever you have superheroes that come out of nowhere, or when you have superheroes who are superheroes because they're different, there's always this trope of the government or some organization, be it the military, be it the government, whatever, trying to rein them in and hold them down. And so that's kind of what this story is playing on, but it also has a very politically active and current climate sort of ideology there as well.
Yeah.
So
it's hard not to be political in writing nowadays, with just the world we're in. I mean, you almost have to. It's harder not to be. You know.
Yeah. Sure. Well, like I said, it's, you know, when we talk about comic books, there are certain things that writers always go back to, and it's not a bad thing that they go back there. It's certainly a testament to the original stories, and it's a testament often to the stories they tell. Because if you're going to go there, everybody's going to be like, it's got to be better than the X-Men story.
Right.
So, you know, superheroes and the government never really going to get along. All right.
True.
Let's take a break.
All right.
When we come back, though.
DC.
Right. I love how I had the exact same thought. Long pause, DC. We'll be right back. It really helps when I do this thing if I put us back on screen.
Yeah, that does help some.
Yeah. I got excited about some news I just got. So,
What's the news?
I got an email from a creator of whom I am a very big fan, who worked on a certain patriotic character that will probably be a part of our July 4th and month of July celebration experience Americana. More details to follow as soon as I get that person booked. But they just responded to me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what is my life? I got an email from. I'll give you a hint. You can do his last name in several parsecs.
Lost on that one.
Star Wars reference. All right. Do we want to go right into the DC, or do we want to finish off the indies?
Finish off the indies.
Okay, because there aren't that many left.
All right.
Including, this one. This is Power Rangers. Power Rangers: The Edge of Darkness #1 from Boom Studios. Written by my buddy Frank Gogol, who's too good to be on our show because, well, he's writing Power Rangers and he's earned it. No, I'm kidding. He wanted to come on, but he's currently doing other press with Boom Studios. Shout out to Frank. I love you, man. Congratulations. But answering Zordon's call, the Phantom Ranger investigates the aftermath of an Imperial attack, only to discover their connection to an ancient evil he encountered long ago, which may have finally returned to threaten the entire universe. Rising star Frank Gogol of Dead End Kids and artist Simone Ragazzoni, who did Power Rangers Draken New Dawn, present the first full appearance of the Phantom Ranger in a story that will ripple through the Power Rangers franchise. Frank is a good friend, and he's always been there and helped us out. He's doing a lot of press this week. They're really promoting this book. I wouldn't be shocked if we don't see some Power Rangers video content based around this character very, very, very soon.
Nice.
So, congratulations. But this is a great book. But this is also a hot. I can guarantee you he is, Sean. Not knowing your Power Rangers fandom, even I can guarantee you he is. First time I met the man, the first thing he asked me was who my favorite Power Ranger was. And when I said the original pink one, he wasn't a fan of that answer. So, but like I said, this is great for Frank. This is a growing. This is a series that they've handled really well at Boom Studios. Having the Power Rangers franchise there, they treated it really well and grown the franchise and the fandom. So I'm very excited to see where this leads. But just also remember, this is one of those books that you best to get to the comic book store early and get. I see that you say Tommy, always Tommy, and I don't necessarily disagree with that, but Kimberly's way hotter than Tommy. And at the time, that's where my interest lied. Speaking of hotter, Oz Annual, the Patchwork Girl #1.
Horrible segue.
Well, I was just going to talk about how great this Igor Vitorino cover is.
It is. That's a really good cover.
It's a hot cover. All right. No, I thought you would maybe say something about that, but okay. Dorothy was once a young farm girl from Kansas, but it has been many years since she has been the person, and since she's been that person, and even longer since she has returned to Earth. Now residing as the Queen of Oz, ruler of the Emerald City, she and her people have gone through their hardships, but she has been there to protect them. But when a magical tornado rips through a prison, are there prisons in Oz? Can we call Dave Franchini and get an answer? Why are there prisons in Oz?
Because there's bad people in Oz.
I thought if you got in trouble in Oz, you were just sentenced to having to listen to the Lollipop Guild sing their songs.
Well, I mean, not everybody melts with water. They got to put the bad people someplace.
Right, but it's in an asylum after they have to listen to that "We Represent the Lollipop Guild" song for like 13 years.
Is it Guild or Gang?
Guild.
Huh. I always thought it was Lollipop Gang.
No.
Okay.
I mean, maybe in the comics, but certainly not in the movie.
Yeah.
But when the magical tornado rips through a prison, bringing one of the most evil creatures ever to walk among... Bringing one of the most evil of creatures to ever walk among in Oz to a small town in our world, Dorothy and her friends must set out to protect a place she once called home. And what she will find will change the very fabric of her identity, introducing a horrifying new character, the Patchwork Girl, in this supersized 64-page tale that can't be missed.
Yeah, they need some new villains at Zenescope. I think that's cool. Patchwork Girl.
Well, and that's one of those characters that is a villain now that they can turn into a hero character later.
Yeah,
And,
give her own series. Yeah.
I love when they do this. This is why I pick up Zenescope books every week. You never know which former bad guy is going to be the hero of the story you're going to be reading, and you never know what kind of crazy crap Ralph and Joe and Dave are going to throw at you.
Yeah, it was the same thing writing for them.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what crazy crap they were going to... You want me to do what?
Well, but you got to control the crazy crap that you wrote then, which is great. Sure. But I really like that this feels like a company that's really kind of found its footing in the last 2 or 3, maybe 4 years.
Yeah.
Doing these sort of one-shotty or mini-series stories where they really delve into these characters, but then they can just hard left turn and do something completely different with them. And
sometimes that's the best thing. When a company is so small, they can make quick turns like that. When you're a bigger corporation, everything's moving, you got all these things going on. You want to make one change, but you got to change 100 things to do it.
Right. And they really have kind of found their feet, I think, and it's been super fun to watch and super fun to read. As someone who's been reading Zenescope a long time, I remember the first time I ever put it on my pull list was when the Robin Hood story first came out. So was that 2012, 2013?
Yeah, something like that.
And ever since then, it's every book they put out, I'm on, and I really love it. So shout out to those guys. All right. From a world we all know very well, from another world we all know very well. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Tea Time.
Yeah. This is what I found interesting because it's it's Mirka Andolfo and Saya Om, and it's basically focused on Rupert. It's on Giles. Who watches the Watcher? Here we have a story of everyone's favorite Watcher like you've never seen him before. Rupert Giles has been many things. Sunnydale's foremost occult expert, high school librarian, mentor, and father figure. But Buffy and the Scooby Gang are totally unprepared for Giles the Vampire.
I always thought he was a vampire.
With the Watcher's cunning experience and intimate knowledge of the Slayer, will evil finally prevail? I went into the show. I never got deep into the show, but Giles was always the character that got my attention when I did watch. Anthony Head. I'd seen him for years on. Going back to the Taster's Choice commercials. Between him, there was this little love story in the commercials. Plus his equally famous brother Murray, and the song "One Night in Bangkok."
Is that a real thing?
Yes, Murray Head is Anthony Head's little brother. You didn't know that?
I need a minute.
Okay, he needs a minute. So we got an episode here, an issue here that focuses on Giles. It's, I believe it's a one-shot. I think that Yeah, it's a one-shot, but it's just a fun little story. Maybe a mini-series, but for some reason I think it's a one-shot. But yeah, get to deal with Giles as a vampire and going up against the Scooby Gang and Buffy. Should be a lot of fun.
Bangkok, Oriental City, where the city don't know what the city is getting with the creme de la creme of the chess world.
Chess
And
world
show
in
with
a show with
everything
everything
but
Yul
Yul Brenner.
Yep.
The song came out before I was born, but I know every word of it.
Me too.
I love Murray Head.
It's one of my karaoke choices. We have a radio station out here called K-Rock, and they used to have Kevin and Bean, and they had the wheel of bad ideas, and every day they would just spin it, but they'd read what the wheel questions were. And it was, one of them on there was, what's up with Murray Head? So every day there was a chance they would just randomly call Murray Head, and one day they did. And they just talked to him for a little bit. He was just working on some stuff, just ordered a pizza.
He is, just for those of you who are like, what are they talking about? So there's a musical Chess, and all the music in it was written by Murray Head, who is, we just discovered, is Anthony Head's little brother. But Murray Head is also a world-renowned and wildly sought-after record producer and songwriter. So he's written a lot of stuff that you don't know.
Right.
So,
but this song from this musical came out and hit the charts and just took off, called "One Night in Bangkok."
One night in Bangkok and the world's your oyster.
Get fine. You're
I'm
talking to
super
a
angry.
tourist. Every move is among the purest. I get my kicks above the waistline, sunshine.
It's going to be stuck in my head all night now. I'm going to dream this song. And then at some point, it will transition to putting on the Ritz.
Yes. Yes. The real version or the taco version?
Taco.
Yeah. If you're blue and you don't know where
You don't know where to go to. Why
go
don't you
where
go where
fashion
fashion sits?
Putting on
The Ritz. Okay.
And that always
All right,
transfers
we
to
got-
Falco for me, but yeah.
It always goes to Tom's Restaurant for me.
Oh, okay. I can see that.
Falco usually is what starts this transition, this role.
Yeah.
It's usually Der Kommissar, and then not Amadeus. Okay.
Yeah. Welcome to Music Night here on In Stores This Week.
Okay, interesting little sidebar. We've got some time. We don't have a ton of books left. I only have 8 books left on the list for us to go through for the night. So let's take a little sidebar. I've been in a bunch of comic book stores this weekend. I visit comic book stores almost every weekend when I get time off. I drove since Wednesday of last week because Thursday's my day off from the experience. Since Wednesday of last week when I got gas, I've driven almost 700 miles visiting comic book stores.
Okay.
What is your favorite sideline the comic book stores carry these days? Is it toys? Is it action figures? Is it Funko Pops? Mine are the increasing number of comic book shops that are also carrying records.
I haven't actually noticed any doing that. That's interesting.
Vinyl records.
Makes
And
sense.
a lot of them are carrying old stuff that they pick up when they get a comic collection. Oh, there's a record in it or whatever, that kind of stuff. But some of them are making actual inroads into selling music as well, selling records and CDs and that kind of stuff. And I picked up, I'll go grab it here in just a second, but I've picked up a couple of really great comic book records in comic book stores.
You mean the old book and record sets?
No, hold on. So, Dan,
Yes.
what is your favorite sideline comic book stores carry?
I am a sucker for hot toys, but not a lot of shops carry them right now, and statues and stuff like that. So that always gets my attention. And in the last few years, I've been playing a lot of D&D, so gaming stuff gets my attention.
Nice. I'm in a different room, so you can't even try to hear what I'm saying.
As you can see over my shoulder, those are some of my hot toys up there. Mostly I got the Marvel ones, but I got the DC Justice League as well, and I've got the latest Mandalorian. So I was just filling.
Funko Pops and Space Cadets as vintage video games, which he said my interview, or my inner child. Seeing television games blew my mind. Okay, so I've picked these two records up from local comic shops. So this is Batman and the other Supermen. So the Avengers, the Man from U.N.C.L.E., Blue Light, Our Man Flint, theme from Secret Agent,
The Saint.
Baron the Saint, Where the Spies Are. The Man from Thrush is a bop, by the way. Meet Mr. Solo, and then parts 1 and 2 of Robin, which are very similar to Batman.
Yeah.
And then I got this one actually from a show here on The Experience, a comic show with Aaron Hallen from A Comic Shop. This is Spider-Man Volume 2. So the Invasion of the Dragon Men story. It's basically an audiobook. Plus the Mad Hatter in Manhattan, Return of the Conquistador, The Abominable Snowman, and Bells of Doom. 5 complete Spider-Man stories on a record.
That's familiar.
And then this is the back.
Yeah. I may have had that as a kid.
I'm a huge music person. Spent a lot of years in the music industry. Music is super important to, like, even my work day when I come into the studio to start work.
Yeah.
It's the right music sets everything. And I recently brought my record player in. That's why all my records are here, because what I was finding is happening is I was losing time skipping songs. The act of changing a vinyl record is too much work, just because you don't want to hear a certain song, so you just leave it on.
Yeah.
I
don't have a current record player, but I do have a couple records that I've hung on to for years. And oddly enough, 2 of them are basically Mel Brooks's songs from his movies, which yesterday was his birthday. And the other is the original cast recording of Chess.
to bring it all back around.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I picked up, so visiting comic stores, I picked up a lot of great records this past weekend.
Very cool.
In comic stores, along with great comic books and other stuff. So, it's a fun little thing to see the way shops are diversifying, and the crossover market.
Yeah.
I think if you're a comic book nerd, you're used to buying something, reading it, putting it in a protective case, bagging a board and putting it in a box. Well, what do you do with a record? You get it out, you play it, you put it in a protective bag and cling-free vinyl sleeve, and you put it in a box.
Mm-hmm.
Something about that is similar, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, let's grab some more books here. Let's talk about some more books. We got 10 minutes to our break.
Right,
we'll go over to Archie Comics with the least Archie-looking Archie comic.
Yeah, this one's done by Rob Liefeld, but he has left the series since. I'm not going to get into that story, but it's a pretty odd story. Mighty Crusaders, The Shield #1. Legendary best-selling author and comic creator Rob Liefeld reimagines Archie's iconic Mighty Crusader library of characters in this new comic book series, starting with America's first patriotic superhero, The Shield. Now, The Shield, I did some looking into this. The Shield by Harry Shorten and Irv Norvik was created in January of 1940 in an issue of Pep Comics #1, months before Captain America. And he ran continuously through issue number 65, which was January 1948. And he was the first hero depicted with the patriotic theme. So when they say first patriotic superhero, they're right. He was before Captain America. He was before Spirit of 76 and all the other ones. This was the guy. And, there's a bunch of covers out there. There's a bunch of store exclusive covers. An old friend of mine, Tone Rodriguez, did a cover that I know one store carries. It looks great. There's some really good stuff out there. But if this was the old Red Circle comics. Before that, what was it? Not Charlton, but yeah, JD.
That's gonna bug me. Who did this? Because I have most of those books.
Yeah. Well, it's been part of Archie for a long time now. So they did the Mighty Crusaders, and they brought in. I know they brought in somebody from Marvel and DC to try to make them more Marvel-like at one point. But
I'm going to throw up another cover for this. It's the Francisco Francavilla cover.
Oh yeah, that's a classic looking. Love the
It
old.
Just looks like something right out of the 40s.
Yeah, JD's talking about a short-lived series called. Trying to remember the name of the character. It was another Fighting American, which is another Jack Kirby character. Right. So it wasn't he just randomly made a character to rip off Captain America. It was another Jack Kirby character.
Simon and Kirby got angry at Marvel for what they were doing with Captain America in the 50s and left to do Fighting American. They published Fighting American. And when the company that was publishing Fighting American no longer could do it, they wound up going back to Marvel and going back on Captain America. But they kind of fixed the problems they had with him politically. Fighting American is the first ever Golden Age book I collected all of. Just because I loved the story of them wanting Captain America to worry less about Nazism and some of the stuff that he had been hung up on, and more about, kind of the current political climate and government overreaching and McCarthyism and some of this other stuff that led into the Red Scare.
Yeah.
Sean has a question for us.
All right.
What's the oddest crossover comic you've read? I picked up Deathstroke Yogi Bear #1 from one of the experience shows. For me, weirdest crossover? See, I think the crossovers from the Marvel DC crossover stuff, when they intentionally were working together, are super weird.
Yeah.
Because that ain't how that's supposed to go. You're not supposed to be friendly. Yeah. So whenever a company buys another company and gets their IP and kind of crosses over, like DC did with Hanna-Barbera, that's never so weird for me. Agent America, yes, that was a thing too.
Yeah.
But if you want to talk about the DC Hanna-Barbera crossover, some of the stuff they did with Snagglepuss was super fun. That's gonna be my answer.
Weirder crossovers for me is when they cross over a fictional character with a real character or with a real person. So when you get something like
when David Letterman shows up in the Avengers,
that's a good one. Superman versus Muhammad Ali. Obama showing up in Spiderman. That's always
Obama showing up in Savage
Dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that one was real weird.
Yeah, Archie Punisher, though, is a good answer, too.
Archie meets Kiss was also strange.
Kiss meeting anybody. Kiss showing up in the Howard the Duck comic way back then.
Shout out to Amy Chu, who was responsible for all of that and did a yeoman's job at it.
Yeah, all right. So, yeah, for me, it's when they put a fictional character and a real character together, like Superman Muhammad Ali is probably going to be the top one for me.
Yes. Say that as well. All right, a couple more indies. This is Barbaric #1. This is from Vault Comics. I don't often talk about Vault Comics because, and it has nothing to do with anything other than the fact that their new #1s are few and far between. And so they do they do short series, but they're slow releases. And then they don't have a ton of new number ones. That's a different thing, Sean Butler, than what we're talking about.
Yeah, Bomb Queen is just an amazing book unto itself. I love it. I love reading it, but it is just unique unto itself.
Yeah, I wouldn't call those crossovers. That's more satirical.
Yeah.
Okay, so Owen the Barbarian has been cursed to do good with what remains of his life. His bloodthirsty weapon, axe, has become his moral compass with a drinking problem. Together they wander the realm, foredoomed to help any who seek assistance. But there is one thing Owen hates more than a life with rules, and that's witches. Welcome to the skull-cracking, blood-spattering, mayhem-loving comic brave enough to ask, how can a man sworn to do good do so much violence? Ha, effing with you. It's just barbaric. So yeah, this is a barbarian with a talking sword who kind of tells him what to do, but the sword also thirsts for blood.
Axe. It's an axe, not a sword.
Axe. Sorry.
Talking sword, Vampire Hunter D. Talking axe, barbaric.
Thank you for clarifying the connections in my brain, Dan.
You're welcome.
Where did I come up? I'm sitting here going, where did I come up with sword? Vampire Hunter D.
Mm-hmm.
But no. So talking axe, which I think is awesome. And so the axe tells him what to do and who to kill. But also witches, they really get under his skin. So we're going to imagine he's going to be dealing with them. Maybe having to help him. Vampire Hunter D had many a talking thing.
Yes. It was like Lidsville. It was horrible. Everything was talking.
I think Vampire Hunter D was more about a person with multiple personality disorder than anyone who ever hunted vampires.
That's what the D stood for. Disorder.
Vampire Hunter Disorder?
Mm-hmm.
I can get behind that. All right. Another book that was on both of our lists, The Nightmares of Providence, #1.
Yeah. This is the world that was created by Alan Moore and his dive into Lovecraftian lore. But here we got various writers and artists, Ivan Rodriguez, Gabriel Andrade, Daniel Getty. Nightmares of Providence is a 64-page, black and white, saddle-stitched book featuring all new art exploring the worlds and terrors of Providence from a huge range of talents. Besides the ones I mentioned, also Christian Zanier. And every cover is limited. Avatar doesn't put out a whole lot anymore. And this is one of the things that gets people's attention. Providence was a big series for them. So them playing with this one, Nightmares of Providence, it sounds more like an art book than anything else. But if you are a Lovecraftian fan, like my ex-wife, who I will probably grab a copy for, this is definitely something worth checking out.
Yeah, these books have all been great. I mean, I think if Avatar Press publishes it, that they've done their work on it. They did a Hickman series called God is Dead that was phenomenal.
Yeah, I got to write backup stories on that one for a while.
Yeah, like they do their work. Before these books hit the stands, they do their work. Yep. So and again, this is from the mind of Alan Moore originally. But this is more of an art book. Inspired by the stories that they've told in this world. So I love the Providence stuff. They did a Kickstarter or one of those. They crowdfunded a hardcover of the first issue of Providence. And I have it. And a few years ago, I was selling off a lot of my single issues when I had a store. And I kept that, and I kept a couple of other hardcovers from Avatar Press because the art in them is so amazing and the story work is so amazing. So make sure you pick them up. All right, last indie book. Parasomnia, #1 from Dark Horse. And it's really not an indie book, it's Dark Horse.
Yeah. but it's Cullen Bunn. It seems like every week we are talking about a new Cullen Bunn #1 horror book. And I mean, the guy just must be sitting at his desk constantly. Here he teams with Andrea Moody from Prometheus and Starship Down. And it's a dark fantasy tale of two worlds split between dreams and reality. After his son disappears, a broken down man braves a nightmarish dreamscape in order to find him and battle the ruthless cult that seeks to rule the land of dreams as the barriers between realities start to collapse.
For fans of the Sixth Gun, Harrow County, and Lock and Key.
Yeah, this sounds Lovecraftian in a lot of ways. Somewhere between Lovecraft and Neil Gaiman's with his Sandman stuff.
Oh man, I got to show everybody the Raphael Albuquerque cover.
All right.
And I haven't seen this before. I got to call my local comic shop.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Mm-hmm. So you see that this guy looks very
Paul Revere?
colonial. Very Paul Revere, very revolutionary.
Highwayman, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be this. I'm interested to see what is dream and what is reality. What is, how does that line blur, and how does Cullen Bunn handle that concept? Because I really I love Cullen Bunn's writing, and I think he can do a really great job. So it's that time. We'll take a break. JD Smith had a question that we will get to when we come back from the break.
Yep.
But we're going to take a break.
And then DC.
Yes. Then DC. We promised you DC. You'll get your DC. Here we go.
To be continued. 3 little words that hold the secret to the next great story. 3 words that will thrill you, confound you, give life to new possibilities. Every variation of To Be Continued is a promise. A promise of adventure. A promise of excitement. A promise of unseen wonders and unexplored worlds. A promise that every issue you read makes you a part of a never-ending journey. And behind every page there will be an unopened door waiting for you. This story to be continued at your local comic book shop today. Visit comicshoplocator.com today.
We're back.
We are? Oh, God. Okay, yeah.
Oh, you're good. Sean Butler, you're good with your questions, man. Dan and I love to talk about this kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
With the right prompting, we probably would never cover the books we're actually trying to cover, so it's cool.
Reminds me of my old German teacher. I could walk into class anytime we had a test for in German class, and I could ask him a political question, and it would pretty much take the rest of the class, and we would never have a test.
I had a history teacher like that I could pull that with, and it's, hey, I saw in the news this, and he was a big fan of the words teachable moment, which was cue to us to not do any work.
Yeah. All right, so JD, you want to know if we're going to hit the convention circuit? I do plan on getting back out there. I am booked to do my first show in December. which will be the Comic-Con Revolution in Ontario, California. I haven't really set up anything after that, but the guys over there are really good people. I've been going to that show since it started. These are the same guys that used to do the Long Beach Comic-Con, and before that they did Wizard World shows. So good bunch of guys, and I love that show. So I will be there, and a couple other shows local. I don't travel as much as I used to, but we'll have to see how this next couple of years go.
Yeah. For me, it's a really weird question to answer. Yes, I'm doing a great many conventions. What my role and my purpose will be at those conventions, how I will be doing those conventions, is still largely up in the air. First convention is mid-August with Astronomicon in Ann Arbor, Michigan, astronomicon.com. Some of the guests they're having there: Corey Taylor from Slipknot, Jason Mewes,
Corey Taylor from Stone Sour.
Also, yes. Jason Mewes, Tony Schiavone from AEW, a lot of professional wrestlers, a lot of horror icons. It's a fun pop culture show that I love doing. That same weekend, I will probably also be at NCI Con in Jackson, Michigan. They're only a half an hour away, so I can do both. And then that's August. September is a 2 show month for me, with the big show for me being Monroe Pop Fest in Monroe, Michigan, which is a 2-day show where, believe it or not, the experience is the experience plus my company, my comic book store, are co-sponsoring the cosplay contest.
Nice.
And then I have another small Knights Hall show that I'm doing, and then it really gets nuts. October, I have Motor City Comic Con and Cherry Capital Motor City in Detroit, Cherry Capital in Traverse City, Michigan, back to back. Come back. That's the end of October, and then in November, 3 shows. Plus, if I go to New York, that's also in October, and then it's gearing up for Emerald City C2E2 in December. Plus, any place else the experience wants to send me, or we're going to have a presence, or any place else I can get into for this job. So it's entirely possible I'll be traveling a ton this year doing conventions. My goal next year is to make it to the NCM shows in England, but I wasn't ready to commit to traveling to Europe.
Yeah, I'll go to any show that I can drive to, and I'll drive far. I've driven to Dallas. I've driven to up to Emerald City. So
we'll get down on a plane at some point.
No, don't need to put me on a plane. I've been on a plane. They're uncomfortable.
Right, but I mean, we could just go down to Studio City and put you on one of those. And be like, I'm coming to this convention, and then you're not.
Yeah.
Where they have all the prop planes?
Yes. Now, if anybody on the West Coast or up through the Midwest want to have me in a show, reach out. Let me know. I'm cheap, and I drive myself to places, so I just need a room and a table.
You heard it here first, guys. He drives himself to places like a grown-up.
Yep. Throw into the back of my Raptor and head on out.
I'll be honest, that's kind of what I'm looking forward to with next year. This year, with everything booked so close together, driving to shows that are more than a few hours is going to be a dumb thing. Because if it's going to take 2 days to drive there, I don't have time. But my goal for next year is to drive most of the cons in the country and visit local comic shops along the way.
Mm-hmm. I want to get back out to the Phoenix Comic-Con. I'm a big fan of that group. Matt Solberg, I've known him since it was just a 2-day show in Tempe. So love them. And that's a huge show now, but they are great. And every show, Matt comes out. He's the president of the freaking convention, and he always takes time to come over to my booth and make sure I'm doing okay. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. There's a couple other shows I really like. I used to love going up to Emerald City. I haven't been there in a few years now, but I could, would love to go back up there too.
Well, we'll have to get you to come to Ohio, Dan, when I start my convention.
All right.
which may be sooner than I'd like. But
I could drive to Ohio.
I mean, it's mostly flat once you get past a certain point of the country, so it's pretty easy.
Yep.
All right, let's crack on into DC here because we've been promising it and promising it and promising it and putting it off and putting it off and putting it off.
Yes.
Somebody out there's going, they said they'd talk about DC this hour. Well, we got 20 minutes left to do it.
That's right. It's all about the Antissa.
So all the DC books this week are number ones. Patient. Now. So let's start with a guy who got shot, but maybe then didn't so much. This is Green Lantern 80th anniversary, all new adventures of the Emerald Archer.
Green Arrow 80th anniversary.
What'd I say?
You said Green Lantern, like a lot of people do.
Why don't they put them back on a book so I can just be right?
No, Green Arrow is better than Green Lantern.
Yeah, but if they put them both on the same book again, I'll just be right.
Green Arrow is my favorite DC character. I would pay DC to let me write him for a while. Not forever. They'd have to start paying me eventually, but I would pay them to do at least one episode. Green Arrow 80th anniversary, 100-page, super spectacular with, it says, for the last 8 decades, Green Arrow has been one of the premier and loudest characters in the DCU, always in the forefront of where the superhero genre is headed. This oversized anniversary issue follows in those footsteps as an all-star lineup of Green Arrow creators alongside some of the gifted creators of the modern era who have been inspired by Oliver Queen unite to pay tribute to the battling bowmen. See what the past, present, and future have in store for Oliver Queen, Black Canary, Connor Hawk, Arsenal, Red Arrow, Speedy, and more in this epic special. And there's a Gary Frank cover that looks like it's straight out of the Longbow Hunters. It's not this one here. It's the other cover. Yeah, it is. You have to take a double check to realize it's not Mike Grell, that it's Gary Frank.
Well, ironically, let's you know what? Ironically, you bring up Mike Grell. Let's talk about the creator list on this book, shall we?
Please.
Jeff Lemire, Tom Taylor, Brandon Thomas, Devin Grayson, Chris Mitten, Ben Piercy, Mariko Tamaki, Vito Ayala, Ram V, Stephanie Phillips, Phil Hester, Mike Grell. Those are all the people with writer titles.
Yeah. Only one name's missing. Two names. Kevin Smith and Brad Meltzer should be on there too.
Sure, but they're not listed as my creators here. I don't know if they don't have stories in this.
Yeah, I'm just saying some of the best.
100% agree.
Yeah.
But then you have Phil Hester art, Mike Grell art, Andrea Sorrentino art, Nicholas Scott art, George Corona art, Laura Braga art. I mean, just so much power on this book.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the first two names you mentioned in the art category are the top three, two of the top three for Green Arrow, which would be Neil Adams, Mike Grell, Phil Hester.
Well, and so Neil Adams did a cover.
Yeah.
He did the 1960s cover. You have variant covers by Frank Cho, Howard Porter.
Nice.
Daniel Warren Johnson, Derek Chu, Neil Adams, Simone DeMeo, Jen Bartel, and Michael Cho.
We were talking about Derek Chu earlier. I got to see what cover he did.
He did the 1970s variant, and it's very his style, but with a 1970s sort of vibe with Black Canary on the cover.
Nice. Definitely have to check that out.
I'll be real honest. The Howard Porter one is the one that does it for me.
Really? I love Howard's work. I was a big fan of his run on Justice League.
Well, and that's why is it feels like those covers. It's got the ribbon, the DC ribbon with this round logo, the original round logo. It says Green Arrow. It's all of that stuff, and then it's got Arsenal and Black Canary and and Green Arrow on the cover. That's the one that does it for me.
Now you're making me have to go look at those covers.
Here, well, no, if you give me a second, I can put it up. I just am waiting for it to download here.
All right.
Because I'm downloading it at desktop wallpaper size.
Oh yeah, that Porter cover looks like it's straight out of that era of Justice League.
Right. There you go. It's the 1990s variant. I mean, I'm sure I'll have to listen to Nick talk for weeks and weeks and weeks about how he tried to buy this cover. Buy the original art from Howard.
He is a huge Howard Porter fan.
He is.
And I think Howard's mostly doing digital work now.
He is only doing digital work.
Yeah, so Nick won't be able to buy that cover.
Yeah, but he's still going to talk about it. So, all right, let's move on from this guy to another new number one, because they're all new number ones. The Teen Titans Academy 2021 yearbook. There's something really fun about this book for me, in that it feels like a high school yearbook.
Yeah, I like the fact that even though it's basically their annual, they're going with the school theme with calling it a yearbook, and you got Tim Sheridan writing it. You got various artists. And it says, as the first quarter of classes draws to an end at the Teen Titan Academy, get a closer look at how students such as Mysterious Stitch enrolled, catch up with the status of Beast Boy and Raven's relationship, and maybe, just maybe, get some clues on the origin of the new Red X.
Right. And when you flip it open and you start leafing through it, there are pages that feel like they're straight out of your high school yearbook. Like, the clubs page brought to you by, whatever the corner diner is. Kind of, like stuff that actually happens in your high school yearbook happens in this book. And it's super fun because all of those sponsors are local comic shops. So.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Even if they don't look like it, or they didn't want to present like that, they actually went to local comic shops and were like, "Hey, you want to do it?" And so now, it's like Steve's Diner, but that's actually Steve's Comics.
Yeah.
So super fun.
That's cool.
Catwoman Annual 2021. There are a number of annuals this week.
Yeah, and this is one of Kyle's favorite writers, Ram V, and an incredible artist, Kyle Hotz. And it says, the Father Valley is a mystery. His usual style as a hitman, his habit of keeping a Bible designated for each of his targets, his macabre and particular method of elegant savagery, his insistence on waiting until his target has reached their highest point before he strikes them down. These are all strange and enigmatic traits that have remained unexplained until now. Bear witness to Father Valley's past with the Order of St. Dumas and his unexpected connection with Azrael. To learn the methods to his madness and see once and for all why Catwoman should be deathly afraid of being on his hit list.
Do you think it's actually Father Valet, and that in a
Jean-Paul
former
Valet?
life, his first name was Jean-Paul, and that he may actually be Azrael, and this is going to get real interesting real fast?
Okay, sure. Yeah, let's go with that. Yeah, why don't we?
Cover by Liam Sharp, by the way, because we have a comment on this is an incredible cover. It is an incredible cover, and Liam Sharp is absolutely on fire. I picked up my copy of Batman Reptilian today, because after traveling all week, I finally got to my local comic shop, and I'm like this, looking at that cover, and the detail is just so insane.
Yeah.
Every day is leg day for Catwoman. That's true.
Yeah.
But I like this idea of,
Well, she has to keep Batman there once he gets... Never mind.
Anyhow, I like the idea of it's possible that Father Valley is tied to this character, that we haven't seen in a while in Azrael.
Yeah.
And Azrael had connection to the Order of Saint Dumas or Saint Dumbass, depending on your political leanings. And then it's an interesting team up. It's an interesting look.
Oh yeah.
And it's Rom V. Guys, you're gonna start hearing me. If you've been watching this show long enough, you know that it was Chip Zdarsky. And for recently, it's been Cullen Bunn. Y'all, if you don't have just everything Rom V writes on your pull list, you're missing out.
And Kyle's going to show up at your house and stare at you until you do.
That shirt got pulled down for cease and desist and several other things. But I managed to buy one before it got taken down.
Yeah.
I sent Dan a meme that was hysterical. It had to do with Alf. All right, let's talk about our last book. This is our last book of the week. Infinite Frontiers. Huh?
I had 2 left.
What else did you have left?
Flash Annual.
Oh, yeah, that's not listed anywhere, actually.
Okay, then we won't talk about it.
Yeah.
Infinite Frontiers Secret Files #1. Are you ready for the new Infinite Frontier series? Do you have the lowdown on all the characters? If not, this print edition of the Digital First Secret Files series will tell everything you're dying to know. Take a look inside Director Bones' personal database while Kyle dies of choking himself to death.
Choking on my own existence.
Director Bones' personal database for stories featuring Jade and Obsidian, the children of the original Green Lantern, Psycho Pirate, the scourge of many of crises on many Earths, President Superman, the multiverse ultimate beacon of hope, Roy Harper, back from the dead, and just Who Are the Totality, featuring 6 stories in print for the very first time.
I like that they're coming back to the digital first, coming back and printing the digital first stuff.
Yeah,
So
I do too. Comics should be printed. It just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in these Secret Files books, the Secret Files stories, if you struggled while reading the original Infinite Frontier stuff,
This should help.
yeah, actually, reading these along with that back then really were super helpful for me to understand what was going on, because like I had to read them so I could come here and talk to you guys about what was happening. And if I didn't understand it, it was really hard to kind of put it into perspective. So these were super helpful, and it clears up a lot of the confusion that was inherently built into that. Dan, I found the Flash Annual. It is set for release July 13th, 2021.
See, I'm working ahead again.
Yeah, I do believe it got moved.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
art by Fernando Passarin. Interesting.
Yeah. That's why there's only 5 books this week from DC. Some got moved.
Well, if you look at DC for next week, 18 releases next week.
Damn.
Yeah. Or I'm sorry. Wait, hold on. What date is this? This is June 29th. So we're here. June 30. DC has only 5 releases. Next week, DC has 17 releases. The week after that, DC has 13 releases. So it's one of those is that it's, this is just one of those weird weeks as they transition and they do that. Oh, it's the 5th Wednesday.
Yeah.
That's part of that too. So that's something that's worth pointing out. We got a couple minutes. Let's talk about 5th Wednesdays. So guys, the normal print schedule is based on a 4 Wednesday a month calendar. 4. Some months have 5. And those weeks usually are the opportunities for companies to put out one-shots, put out
Annuals,
special releases that aren't always canon, but aren't always not. And in a lot of cases this year, companies are going to use it to get back on their traditional schedule. So you'll have stuff that gets released like on a fifth Wednesday. That okay, why did we have this book 2 weeks in a row? Or it comes out on a fifth Wednesday and then it's 3 weeks when it's usually 2 weeks, and it's them resetting the calendar. So just be aware of that. It's usually really weird weeks for comic book retailers.
Yeah.
Because their budget is based around 4 Wednesdays. So,
but it also means
that happens.
There's not going to be as many books from most of the publishers, which also means this is a great week to look at all those indie books we were talking about. If you're normally a Marvel DC guy, this is the time to slide down to the Dark Horse, to the Source Point Press, to Scout Comics, Behemoth. Look at all those a little further down the line and check it out. Pick up that Vampirella book we were telling you about.
Mm-hmm.
Look for that kind of stuff. This is the week where your budget can handle
a little further.
Yeah.
Although ironically, fifth Wednesdays for me are always terrible. Because my pull list this week is $143.
Wow.
Because again, I pick up all the indies. I pick up most annual. I pick up a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's a huge week.
That's why you're on the show, isn't it? So you can write them off.
But no, the other thing that I want to remind you guys of is that with the holiday this weekend, visit comicshoplocator.com. Find stores near you. If you're traveling to go see family for the holiday, find a comic shop where you're traveling. But call ahead and find out the hours. Give them a buzz. Say, when are you going to be in? Just want to come in and stop by. Want to make sure you're going to be there. With the holidays, some people are taking Monday, but not Sunday. Some people are taking Saturday. You just got to find out what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And because it's a fifth week, things are tighter for retailers. So go in and spend some dough. I don't ever want to tell you we need you to spend your money, but we need you to spend your money. So go in and support your local comic shops, especially this week. And then, as things get back to normal next week, things get back to normal for everybody.
Yep.
So, all right. For Dan, who will be back tomorrow at 5:00 2 Pacific, with the Dan Wickline Show, where he will try his hardest not to spoil Loki.
I'll try. Don't promise it, but I'll try.
Right. He'll try his hardest not to spoil Loki.
The spoilers will be Thursday night.
Spoilers will be Thursday night. I will be back Thursday night as well, talking to the creators of Darling, having kind of a heavy conversation, but something that I think is worthy for this channel and for that book. And we will be back this weekend with special 4th of July programming, including, if we can get it all pulled together, our very own fireworks display. That may just be so I can write off my own fireworks purchases.
That's what I was thinking.
I didn't say that. All right. We'll see everybody later. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, JD. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Thank you, Mr. Barucci. Well, no, don't thank Mr. Barucci. We'll see everybody next time. Bye.
Have a great one.